Hi, I'm Patrick, and this is the Mach-E vlog. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about Ford's Q4 2023 earnings call, but we're not going to focus on the financial. We're going to focus on some of the comments by Jim Farley. So let's go. On this channel, we've never really dove into anybody's financial or stock price or any of that type of stuff. That's just not what we're about. We're more about the products that people are putting out there, the EVs that are on the road, and the EVs that are coming. So that's why I listened to today's conference call or quarterly earnings call from Ford. I wanted to hear any information about T3, which is Trust the Truck, which is a product that we've been hearing about from Ford for the past couple of years. They're building Blue Oval City, a big, huge EV production campus and battery plant in Tennessee. They're building a couple of battery plants in Kentucky. So I was sort of hoping to hear a little bit more about that. Instead, we sort of got like, I would say almost like a bombshell dropped on us with some new information from Jim Farley. But first, I do want to get into the fact that Ford's overall did very well financially. They beat earnings, aftermarket hours, the stock's doing well. If you're into all of that, you can dive into that on another YouTube video not from us. A lot of people are already commenting because although Ford Blue, which is their traditional business, and Ford Pro, which is like their fleet and business side of things, Model E, which is their EV business, lost a ton of money last year. I think it was $4.7 billion that they lost last year. They also stated that they are expecting to lose about $5.5 billion in 2024 on Model E. So that's one of the big headlines that you'll probably see with people that are focused more on the financial side of things. And again, we're sort of focused on what the EV products are going to be and what we can drive. And we have a Mach-E, so we're interested to see any of that type of news. You've probably also recently seen Ford is scaling back the Lightning production. We haven't heard about the Mach-E, but that's probably in flux too. I believe they had significantly lower sales numbers for the Mach-E in January of 2024 compared to like the last few months of 2023. So a lot of people saw that as Ford is scaling back. They are scaling back the Lightning production back down to 1 shift per day instead of doing 2 shifts per day. So, a lot of people are worried about the demand for EVs. And I was talking about this on the Monroe Live podcast that we recorded earlier today. I'm not sure when that's going to be out. There are a lot of headwinds for the overall automotive market. I believe I saw a stat where just over a year ago, there were about 1 million vehicles across the U.S. on dealer lots, and that number is up to 2.6 million now. So overall, I think the auto market has had a downturn. I think sales have slowed across the board, but the media wants to portray it as EV sales are down. And a lot of the numbers are suggesting EV sales aren't necessarily down. Even Ford had an increase throughout the year in EV sales. But for Ford specifically, they didn't go up as high as Ford was predicting earlier in the year. And I think, again, a large part is just the overall economic environment, especially interest rates being so high. But there are some other factors. People know that there's some stuff coming down the road for EVs that may be more exciting, more appealing. The price fluctuation in EVs, I think it's hurting the market. There are a lot of people that may have looked at buying a new EV, and then they go and they look and they see a used EV for a lot less than you can buy a new EV for. That wasn't the case. Like a year ago, depreciation values of EVs was almost non-existent. If you don't know, about a year and a half ago, we sold our first EV, the first Mach-E that we had, for significantly more than what we paid for it, and then bought a Mach-E GT Performance Edition. It's almost like a free upgrade because the market was so crazy. Now that's not the case. Like if we went to sell our Mach-E now, it'd be significantly lower than what we paid for it. And that's generally the way the used car market has always worked, but it's a big change now. EV new EV buyers haven't faced this dilemma before of, having a choice between a new EV at say 60,000 or one that's like a year and a half old that's 40,000. So, you have a big price number comparison difference. A year ago, we were looking at the Bolt EUV as a second EV that we were going to buy. And it was actually funny because with the tax credit we could get on the new Bolt EUV, a used one would have cost us more than a brand new one with the tax credit. So that's changed for Ford. It's changed for other EV manufacturers. So long story short, let me just dive into like what I thought was most interesting today that Jim Farley said. And give me 1 second. I'm going to find that. Okay, found it. And I'm going to just go ahead and read word for word what he said for this one section, and then we'll talk about it. And he goes, and here are our big bets and adjustments. We're going to spend less capital on larger EVs. And as we've always said, we'll have very small number of those. We're going to focus those large EVs on geographies and product segments where we have a dominant advantage, like trucks and vans. And those products will have breakthrough efficiency compared to Gen 1 Ford EV products. And they're going to be packed with innovations that customers are going to be excited to pay for. We're also adjusting our capital, switching more focus onto smaller EV products. Now, this is important because we made a bet in silence 2 years ago. We developed a super talented Skunkworks team to create a low-cost EV platform. It was a small group, small team, some of the best EV engineers in the world, and it was separate from the Ford mothership. It was a startup, and they developed the flexible platform that will not only deploy to several types of vehicles, but will be a large install base for software and services that we're seeing, and I think he said in Pro now, meaning in Ford Pro. All of our teams are ruthlessly focused on cost and efficiency in our EV products because the ultimate competition is going to be the affordable Tesla. Does he mean the new $25,000 low-cost Tesla that's rumored to be coming soon? And the Chinese OEMs. And that bet and all of the right sizing of capital and even delays to some of our products. So there was a lot to unravel there. And I'm not sure what all of it means. I don't think anybody does right now. I'll just tackle some of this. So right sizing of capital and even delays to some of our products. Not sure. There was supposedly some stuff that was going to be coming out like 2026 timeframe. Does that mean it's going to be delayed? Or 2025 timeframe? We already know, Ford has some plants under construction right now. They have 2 battery plants in Kentucky that are under construction, and they have Blue Oval City, which is a EV assembly plant and battery plant in Tennessee. They're continuing production, assembly or building of those 2 plants in Kentucky, but only one is going to go online initially. So instead of having 86 gigawatt hours out of Kentucky, they're only going to have 43 gigawatt hours. The one in Blue Oval City, that one is still on target for 2025 to come online, and that one is also 43 gigawatt hours. There is also a plant in Michigan, and there's been some issues with that as far as some political issues as well, and I think they're slowing/delaying when that one will be built and come online. There was another battery plant that they were looking at in Turkey with a joint partnership, and I believe that has actually been canceled. So there, I think that's what they mean by like right sizing. I don't know what they mean by delaying stuff. But the decision in silence 2 years ago to create a Skunkworks team for a low-cost EV platform, that's what's really interesting to me. Previously, we've only heard about T3, which is we've been told was an F-150 Lightning replacement. So that would be a full-size pickup truck. There's also mentioned that there's going to be a EV Explorer size vehicle, potentially just called the Explorer. If you know, there's one that's coming online in Europe later this year that's going to be an EV Explorer, but it's based off of the VW ID4 type platform. So that's not what we're talking about. We heard that there was an Explorer-sized, US-sized EV coming as well, and an unnamed commercial vehicle. So a low-cost EV is not any of those. So I'm not sure what this would be. And then they also said it's a low-cost EV platform that will be used in, what did he say? A flexible platform. So it sounds like it's going to be potentially used in multiple types of vehicles, which is also interesting. Now, my best guess is that, based off of some other stuff that Jim Farley has said, it could be an electric Maverick. I have no idea if that's the case, but one of the things he said previously is that they want to have EVs in areas where they can dominate. He doesn't want to have, sort of like if you look at the Mach-E, when it first came out, it was one of the first. The Model Y had just come out, and then the Mach-E came out. Those were like the only like crossover compact SUV EVs. Well, now you look and there's like the ID4, the Ioniq 5, the GV60 from Genesis, and others. There's like a lot of competition in that area, and it can be very hard to differentiate yourself. The Maverick is sort of like a new segment that Ford almost like created, which is sort of like a retro created, because that size truck used to be the form factor that a lot of people were familiar with. But now Ford came back out with the Maverick. The only real competition is the Hyundai Santa Cruz. I think that's the one. But the Maverick is they're selling tons and tons of them. So a lot of people have been saying it, like an EV Maverick would be awesome. A lot of people have also asked for an EV Ranger, but if you're talking about low cost and smaller, that would be a perfect platform. Now, I would question whether they can get the range out of a platform that is that size. Hopefully they can. That would be fantastic. And it'd be hard for us to like pass up on a vehicle like that. I don't necessarily need a full-size truck, but a Maverick size truck would be way more useful. And if it were EV, then that would be something that we would consider for one of our next vehicle purchases. That could be super useful, and just so much different ways we could utilize that. Other small vehicles, I don't know. Now, Ford has gotten out of the like sedan and hatchback business completely. They sell a Mustang, of course, which is, two-door. But other than that, they don't sell anything. They don't have a Focus. They don't have any other sedans out there anymore in the U.S. Over in Europe, they have some, but I'm not sure if they're going to re-enter that market in the U.S. Maybe that's what they're talking about. Maybe it's just not a full-size Explorer. Maybe it's going back to like maybe a Bronco Sport size vehicle. That could be like what they're talking about as a flexible platform that can be used in something like a Maverick truck and a Bronco Sport size vehicle, or maybe they go slightly bigger. We all know the Kia EV9 is sort of one of the, it's a lower cost 3-row SUV. Technically, the Model Y is 3-row, the Model X is 3-row, but it costs a little bit more. So I think there's a huge opportunity. There's a lot of demand for like an EV9, but that sort of goes back into, that would be the Explorer size, potentially, vehicle. So not really sure what size or what form factor they're talking about, but I think this is all super exciting. One of the things that's been hit over and over is about EV, for EV enthusiasts like us, is we need lower cost EVs. And this is the first time Ford has really sort of addressed that issue. The Mach-E is not designed to be like a low cost EV. The Ford F-150 Lightning, the Pro version, is a lower cost truck compared to some of the trucks that are out there these days. But I wouldn't say it's a low cost truck by any means. And especially now with some of the price increases. So it will be interesting to see what comes of this. I'm really interested to see, does anybody have any information or thoughts? Please drop comments down below and let us know what your thoughts, what your projections are, and what you'd like to see. Again, we were on the Monroe Live podcast. We recorded it earlier today. And one of the questions was, what Ford product would we like to see made electric? And Liv and I both agreed a two-door Ford Bronco EV would be fantastic. I'm not sure about that as an EV platform for real. I think it would be a lot of fun, but just because of the nature of it, higher off the ground, a bit boxy, the range may suffer quite a bit. But that, maybe, could it be something like that? What do you think? Do you think Ford would get back into sedans or coupes or anything like that? Who knows? Maybe this will be like the next generation down the road. Ford Mustang will have the V8, the EcoBoost, and maybe an EV version or a hybrid version. So sounds very exciting. That's our big takeaway and news from Jim Farley's comments during the earnings call. There's still a lot of talk, of course, about, will Ford ever become profitable on this? They had some questions about that. They were talking about how earlier this year, or actually last year now, how they were going to ramp up production. And that was, ramp up production, lower costs, and that's how they were going to get profitable in the EV segment. Now it's sort of like they're talking about some of that profitability is going to be delayed, but they are still making those investments, and they understand that it's going to take a while. And one of the things that they really wanted to emphasize is that the Gen 2 EVs is what's really going to drive profitability. And again, we don't have any confirmed details on what those Gen 2 products will be. We do still think there's going to be a Gen 2 Lightning, that's the T3, but what else is out there, we don't really know. But they seem to indicate that they're going to be able to make those reach profitability a lot sooner than their Gen 1 products. And a lot of that is they know they have to compete with the Chinese car companies that are going to eventually be coming to the U.S., as well as Tesla. We were talking about this again today. When we first bought our Mach-E, the first one, it was like $7,000 less expensive than a Model Y, and it got a tax credit, and the Model Y didn't. Now the Mach-E and the Model Y are nearly the same cost, and the Model Y gets a tax credit, and the Mach-E doesn't. So things have really changed. They really need to focus on competing with not only the Model Y, but the rumored Model 2 or whatever Tesla decides to call it. That's going to be a lower cost EV. A lot of people are projecting that may be built in the Mexico plant that Tesla is currently working on, we'll say, and that at some point they're going to be coming out with something even cheaper than the Model 3/Model Y. So a lot of unknowns from Tesla, a lot of unknowns from Ford. I'm really excited to see any mention of low-cost EVs that are coming out, and really excited to see how this platform evolves from Ford and where they take it and how flexible it will be as well. The idea that they can take one platform and use it in multiple vehicles, I think, is a huge positive step. We've seen like the eGMP platform from Hyundai. It's used in multiple cars, multiple form factors. So that gives them a lot of flexibility, because U.S. buyers specifically like a lot of variety in the vehicles that they buy. I believe there's like something like 250 different models of cars/trucks/SUVs here in the U.S. So if you could take one platform and offer several options for customers, that gives you a lot more bang for the buck in your production abilities. And it may not necessarily even be out of the same factory, but the fact that you're using the engineering power that you have to give one platform that gives several form factors can be a huge turning point for Ford. So who knows? This is all more about what the EV is coming. Who knows what this means for the profitability? I'm going to go. We're got to leave in the morning for the Chicago Auto Show. So if you haven't subscribed, we're going to cover all the Ford news as well as any EV news that we find out in Chicago. Hopefully there's some. We know Stellantis is not participating this year. But there are other EVs that are going to be out there. We know Lucid, this is going to be the first time that we've seen them at an auto show since we started covering EVs in this YouTube channel. So we're excited to see Lucid. We're excited to see some of the other stuff. And I just got a work email that I got to attend to. So with that in mind, I'm going to wrap it up and say, whatever you drive, whether it's now or in the future, enjoy the ride. Bye.